Orks, 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 da-da-da-da-da-da, orks! This month on Old People Stuff, we're going to be talking about another one of my favorite armies, at least back in the day, and that was Orks. Alright, so I realize that this might be a little bit of a touchy subject for some die-hard Orks fans out there. I am we'll say a second-generation die-hard Orks fan, but probably not in the same way you are. This has caused some heated arguments and some laughing and some mocking over the years because, you know, for me, I don't remember Orks being these big, hulking, larger than anything type of model. We started playing, when we first started playing 40k 20 years ago, Orks was my brother's first army, that being Heretic of You. He was an Ork player back in Rogue Trader when it was when the Ork Codex, I believe, was called Freebooters. And Freebooters isn't even a term that you see thrown around very much with Orks. I mean, Orks were not these big, huge, hulking things that they are today. They were, I'm going to remove some of these. Your average Ork back in Rogue Trader looked something like this. This is an old plastic Death Skull Luda from the original Space Orks box back in Rogue Trader. They were a plastic box. I think you got 36 of these Orks, and this one here painted by Heretic of You. So a lot of the older stuff was painted by him. So Orks very different back then. A little on the cartoony side. Actually, I would say a lot on the cartoony side, and I didn't mind that. I mean, I actually kind of liked that. You got these little skinny anti-Popeye arms with these giant hands as opposed to the thick sinewy limbs that Orks have today. You still have the hunched over stance. You still have the beady red eyes and the teeth, or I'll call them toofs because that's my favorite thing to do. So this would be the Rogue Trader Ork. Some of you guys might recognize the second edition plastic Orks that came with the second edition box set. So this is a second edition Goth. Pretty boring model, actually. I mean, I think all you did was glue the arm on here, and that's what Goths were like. They were just black and red. So during second edition was really where my brother and I were playing. He played an Evil Sun's Ork army. And towards the end of second edition, I picked up the army from him because he was needing to lose an army or two, and I wasn't about to let the Orks get away so easily, so I picked up the Orks from him and played them during second edition. From second edition, then it was quite a drop into third, and I think that's really where Orks were neutered at that point. Orks were no longer these cartoony, characterful models. They all turned into these, you know, big, buff, sinewy Orks. And, you know, I know a lot of Ork fans are really big on that. I'm not, though, and I'll get into why. I'll get into some of the reasons why Orks lost their character, at least in my opinion. So this is third into fourth and even current. That would be an Ork now. In between, when third edition had come out and Orks were just another one of those neutered armies, there was this game called Gorka Morka, and I still have a copy of Gorka Morka, and I love Gorka Morka. Still one of my favorite games. Don't really have time to play it anymore, but I still have these Gorka Morka boys, or youths they were called. They came on these really tiny little bases because they fit on trucks, and I'll show you the trucks here in a minute. So from first edition Rogue Trader to 2nd edition to 3rd edition, and in between you've got Gorka Morka Orks. And that's where Orks really, like I said, 3rd edition is where Orks, to me, lost most of their identity. They just lost a lot of the flavor, a lot of the fun, and the pure joy of playing an Ork. Okay, so we're going to stick with mainly 2nd edition Orks for this little showcase. And again, a lot of these were painted by my brother Heretic of You. Big Ork fan from the beginning. For example, here is one of his Blood Axe Commandos. And like the Blood Axe knob. So you had Orks that had, from unit to unit, they had an incredible amount of variation. Here's some heavy armor Orks. So my brother's main clan was Evil Sons. So you're going to see a lot of red-orange type stuff. So heavy armor here, power glove back in the day. This is a plasma gun. I'll show you back in the day, Ork mega armor. This little banner pole's a little bent here, but this is a mega armored Ork back in the day from the Bad Moon clan. Compare that with a modern day mega armored Ork. So a little bit sleeker. Back in the day, they had another special character for the Bad Moons named Nazdreg Erdgrub. Very fun model to play. The Bad Moon's very rich because of the abundance of toofs that they had. So very rich. They could afford mega armor. Here's another heavy armor model. And like I said, we were throwing around this term freebooters. And freebooters was, I mean, that's what Orks were called. That's what you ran, a freebooters list back in the day, and you ran all of the different clans, and it was a mercenary type list and hilarious on the battlefield. Let me show you some freebooters. So Orks that look like pirates. So he's got a combi weapon here. All Ork stuff could blow up back in the day, and I know there's maybe a couple of things that could blow up these days with Orks, but back then everything could blow up, and it was spectacular. It was awesome. So freebooters, I have a whole squad of freebooters, and I just want to show you, like, that, I mean, okay, skinny arms, whatever, they're little, whatever, they're not these big, buff, all uniform looking guys that they are today, but look at the character on this model. I mean, that's an Ork. Look at this, he's got a squig parrot on his hat. How amazing is, I mean, how can you argue with Cigar Pirate Ork and regular freebooter Ork, and one of my favorites, ice cream cone squig on the head Ork. Now, I used to break these out in the store and just get laughed at in 3rd and 4th edition because I wanted to stick with these Orks. These are the Orks that I wanted to play. And my brother and I got a lot of grief over stuff like that. But I mean, look at the character in just one squad of Orks. You look at a squad of Orks these days, everything's green, everything's buff, and they have, they all have the same weapons. But look at, that's the Orks that I want to play. Let me show you something else that you may not see with Orks these days. So you don't see Ork pirates anymore. What a crime that is. But you also don't see cyborgs. That's right. This is my Ork war boss. I called him Bergrub Ed Unta, I believe was his name, and he was my 2nd edition Ork war boss on a cyborg. Cyborgs had this thing here called the big red button. They hit that button, the cyborg goes nuts, throws them into combat, and I mean, just look at the stuff that we had on Orks. Like, you could give them a shotgun, you could give them a bolt pistol, power sword, power glove. I mean, these guys were a terror. And I have, I think I have 16 of these cyborgs, and I loved cyborgs. and I loved feral orcs and wild boys and stuff, and they took them out, and it was just really upsetting for me. And I know probably you guys are probably cringing, orc fans. I mean, look at it's a Storm Boy, the Storm Boy knob. Look at that. Look at the packs. And I know actually, I think this one's glued on upside down. That's awesome. Orcs had crazy flavor. They had crazy character back in the day. One of my favorite things to do, and I actually lost the back end of this. This is a 2nd edition Scorcher. And the Scorcher was just basically a track with a trash can on top of it. The trash can would fire gouts of flame and very fast vehicle. One of my favorite things to do, though, was to blow this up with my own stuff because the explosions were ridiculous on something like that. Moving into 3rd edition, I ran a Speed Freak list in 3rd, using a lot of Gorka Morka stuff. So this is an old 3rd edition Gorka Morka truck. That's about the size of a truck, very small. I'm going to compare that to a modern day truck. That's the truck. That's the modern day truck. And I'm not knocking the modern day truck. It looks cool. Sure, it's really orky, really ramshackle looking. Okay, I get it. It's awesome. But let me show you some other stuff really quick. Okay, so my camera's about to die from all the ranting and raving about orcs, but the last thing I wanted to show you were old school battle wagons. These were orc battle wagons. They're about the size of a modern day truck. This is an Epicast version. This is my brother's original plastic kit. So that's what we wanted to show you with orcs. I mean, these were hilarious. You put as many models that you could physically fit in there, and if you move it and orcs fall out, they actually count as having fallen out. And that's, I mean, I can't really say enough about what the kind of joy that orcs brought playing orcs on the field in 2nd edition and in Rogue Trader. So, you know, I know a lot of people love orcs, and they probably hate these old school orcs with the piratey, clowny type themes to them, but we loved these orcs. They were hilarious. They could do a lot of different things on the battlefield. It wasn't just walk up and throw 80 combat dice at somebody and swallow them up. So that's this month's edition of Old People Stuff. I hope you really enjoyed it. Again, I love orcs, and I don't care what people think. So thank you. Bye.